What's going on, everyone? It's Alex here from Alex Physio. So today we're going to be talking about pain sciences and trying to understand pain more. Welcome. For those of you who are new to my channel, my name is Alexander Kravich. I'm a physiotherapist in Vancouver, British Columbia, and today we're going to be chatting a little bit more about pain sciences and understanding pain. Before we go into pain, let's just give an overall definition. Pain is an unpleasant sensory experience, subjective in nature, that is associated with actual or perceived tissue damage. The first thing that comes up when you hear this definition is that, what do you mean pain is associated with potential tissue damage? If you have pain, it means you're causing damage, right? It's actually incorrect. You can have pain in the absence of any tissue damage actually occurring. Now, why is that? Pain is a very complicated phenomenon. It's subjective in nature. It depends on the individual person. And there's a lot of steps that go on that happen on a subconscious level without your awareness. Pain can be influenced by numerous different factors, not just the physical nature or load that is being applied to your body that's triggering the onset of pain, but things such as your beliefs, your thoughts, your emotions, your previous experiences with regards to pain, what other people have told you about pain, what you read about pain, your sleep, your nutrition, all these things can play a role in the overall pain experience. And this is why there are some days where your pain is better managed or better controlled, or you have less pain, and days when it is worse managed, or when you're having a flare-up. If the pain was just black and white, and if it was just associated with the physical structure being damaged, then you would have pain at the exact same time with the exact same load throughout. There wouldn't be any variations necessarily in the pain. And this is why it's very complicated and difficult to treat, especially chronic pain. Of course, with acute pain or pain that's associated with a specific structure, like if you break your leg or break your arm, you have a traumatic event, that's a little bit easier to quantify and understand. You have pain because you have this clear physical damage that's evident on imaging and based on the mechanism of injury. The difficulty is when we have chronic pain. And with chronic pain, which is pain longer than 3 months, it becomes more than just tissue damage. It becomes about some of the other things that we mentioned: managing stressors, coping strategies, beliefs, thoughts, past experiences with pain, etc. Pain is like an alarm system. The purpose of an alarm system, like let's say a smoke alarm system, is to tell us to do something, that there's some sort of threat. It doesn't tell us if there's a fire. It doesn't tell us how big the fire is, if there is one. It doesn't tell us what we need to do about it. It doesn't tell us the nuances with regards to the fire or what triggered it. All it tells us is that there's something going on that triggered this smoke alarm to go off, and we need to do something about it, whether that be turn it off, whether it be check to see what's going on. That's kind of how our pain system works. We get this input into our bodies and into our brain from our nociceptors, which are the receptors in our skin. And that signal gets sent up to our spinal cord, goes to our spinal cord, and goes up to our brain via our spinal cord. And our brain, which is like our CEO or our boss, makes an executive decision to decide what to do with that input. The situation of what I'm trying to explain is, if you would put your finger on a hot stove, that signal or that nociceptor is sensing that message of heat, very hot, and it's sending that message to your spinal cord, which sends a message up to your brain to tell your hand to move off of the stove so that you don't get burned. And this is something that happens obviously very quickly and subconsciously. So pain is an output, pain isn't an input. It's our body's response and our brain's response to all the information and all the previous experiences with pain and all the thoughts, beliefs, and load, physical, mental, emotional, that plays a role in determining what to do with that input. So this is why there are some individuals who have a lot of imaging findings, a lot of arthritis or disc degeneration or issues, and they're doing fine. They have very minimal to no pain. You wouldn't even notice that they had any pathology on imaging. And then you have other people that have very minimal changes on MRI or imaging, and they are in debilitating pain. And this just kind of goes back to the fact that pain is very complex and it's person to person, and there's a lot of factors that play a role in why an individual is severely debilitated with pain and why another individual is able to still live their life, even though there might be similar imaging or physical findings during the exam. So the one thing to understand is that pain is like an alarm system. Pain is also context dependent. So let's use the creaky stairs metaphor. I got this from Mike Stewart, a physiotherapist in the UK. If you go up creaky stairs with positive energy, you're at a party, you're going up these steps, the mood is good, everyone's laughing, you're having a good time, you're not really thinking anything of these stairs or the creakiness. That's the input. This is the creaky stairs, and kind of what you're hearing and how you're reacting is the output in terms of your thought patterns. Now compare you going up those same creaky stairs, so same input, but you just watched a scary movie. So the output is different now. Now you're much more alert of the steps, you're much more mindful, and you're aware of your surroundings in the context of what you've just gone through in terms of watching that scary movie. So this is kind of like how our pain system works, where you can say my pain is worse with the weather changes. Some people will say when it's really damp weather, my osteoarthritis flares up. And before, I used to not really think too much about that, but that's real. Your pain is real, and it makes sense, even though it doesn't sometimes make sense to a lot of healthcare providers. It's yours, and it makes sense to you why some days you feel worse and your pain is worse than other days, even if the stimuli could be similar, but the context could be different. This analogy I learned from Greg Lehman. He has a great painsciences workbook that you can find online. It attempts to explain pain from a captain boat perspective. If we try to break down the pathway of pain, so we have our nociceptors again, which are the receptors in our skin that are sensitive to noxious stimuli or temperature changes, chemical changes, mechanical pressures. These are equivalent to the lookouts on a ship. So if you reach down to pick something up from the floor and you have low back pain, that is the stimuli. So that's those lookouts on the ship that see something from afar. Now those lookouts, they send that message to the relay team, which is the equivalent of the spinal cord. They saw something in the distance on the ship and looking to see what to do from it. Now that relay system or that relay team is like the spinal cord. So that message travels up to the spinal cord to our brain, which is the equivalent of the captain. And that captain is going to make a decision on what to do after getting that information. And the captain's decision is going to be based on previous experiences, thoughts, beliefs, other situations that have arisen in the past to come up with that decision of what to do. And this is how pain occurs, and this is how individuals can have pain. So if you reach down to pick something up from the floor and you remember that the previous 5 times that you picked something up from the floor that caused your back pain, or the initial time you had back pain was as a result of that, naturally your brain is going to tell you, hey, don't do that movement, that's going to cause pain. Remember the last time that you did it? And then naturally you're going to want to disassociate yourself with that movement or try to avoid that movement because of that belief that is going to trigger your pain. But if you look at individuals who even have similar back pain or similar findings on imaging, they can do those movements and not have any pain. So why is it that one person can do the movement and have excruciating pain, and the other person can do it with the same imaging findings and not have pain? This is where that context is key, and where the brain takes the information in that moment in time and makes a decision at a subconscious level of what to do based on all the information, experiences, etc. provided to them to decide and to tell you what to do, or to release pain or have pain, or our body's way of having pain as an output to try to get you to do something, and in that case to avoid that movement. However, the key with chronic pain is that those are some of the things that are actually important as part of your rehab. And I generally tell patients to try to push to the pain, but not through it. So not no pain, no gain, but also not completely avoiding something because of that fear of pain. And it's important to try to push to that point of discomfort and some pain to allow you to build up the tolerance and be able to eventually return back to your activity. But if you just always stop the moment that you have pain and you have symptoms, then you won't be able to break past that barrier to get you to the point that you can do some of those activities. So this is called graded exposure. It's a type of treatment that is utilized with individuals with chronic pain to try to help get them back to their previous function. So a graded exposure exercise might be for somebody who has a lot of pain, who has chronic back pain, low back pain, especially with rounding movements, like reaching to pick something up from the floor, is instead of just getting them to do that exercise and just say, oh, push through it, no pain, no gain, you get them to do it at a much lower intensity. So instead of reaching something off the ground, you ask them to reach something off of the countertop, and you're still doing that movement, but the window of mobility that you're requiring them to do is much smaller. So they're moving quite minimally, but they're still working on those mechanics and working on those positions to the point that they can manage it and tolerate it. And then once that becomes easy and it's not really reproducing much symptoms, then you progress that. And instead of picking something up from a countertop, you ask them to pick something up from a chair or from a table height. And you slowly try to increase their tolerance to that initial noxious stimuli by decreasing the surface at which they're picking up that object. So that's just an example of graded exposure and how to help somebody who has chronic pain. So there you have it. We went over chronic pain and some different metaphors and analogies to look at with analyzing chronic pain, looking at pain as an alarm system. Hurt doesn't necessarily equal harm. Just because something's painful doesn't mean you're causing damage to it. Using the captain analogy on a boat to try to understand and dissociate the three components that are involved in pain, which is the nociceptors, the spinal cord, and the brain, as being the brain being the captain, the nociceptors being the lookout, and then the spinal cord being the relay team that sends the message to the captain. And then also just trying to look at pain and graded exposure and managing expectations. These are all things that we would look at for helping to treat an individual with chronic pain. And also understanding that chronic pain is not just about tissue damage, that there's a lot of factors that play a role in pain and the whole pain experience. And everybody naturally wants to find that structure that's at fault, but again, it's very complex and it's not necessarily associated with that, especially if you have chronic pain. Chronic pain is obviously very difficult to manage and to treat because each human and each individual is very different with regards to their overall experiences. But regardless, it's important to try to share some of this pain science and experiences and using terminology to try to help people understand pain so that they can hopefully regain control of their lives and help manage their pain a little bit more efficiently. Hopefully you learned something from this video. Do you have chronic pain or are you struggling with chronic pain? What have you found that has worked and what hasn't? Let me know down in the comments below. If you find value in my videos, please consider checking out some of my other videos. I have almost 500 videos on various physio, exercise, and medical related topics. If you still find value, please consider subscribing to my channel. It really allows my channel to grow and allows me to reach a wider audience. I've just become monetized on YouTube a couple months ago, so thank you for all my loyal and kind subscribers who have given lots of words of encouragement and gratitude messages to my videos saying that they've helped. I really appreciate that. It means so much to me. My goal is to try to reach as many people as possible through this platform, and I think I'm on my way there. Obviously, lots more work to do, but hopefully you find value in this content, and please let me know if there's anything else that I can do to try to improve on my content delivery and my content information. Until then, we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.